Good afternoon, David Bradley. We've been watching this Lehighton Area School District for a little more than a decade or so. And finally, for the first time, the stakeholders will have an opportunity to present information to the board. All this information is readily available from either the school district documents on their website, school district documents collected, or Pennsylvania Department of Education or other resources that are available. And they can be challenged by anyone. If you have any questions on where the documents come from, give me an email. We'll shoot it out to you. Be glad to help you any way we can. All the information was already given to the board of directors, all these reports and all this information from where this was gleaned. But at the same time, there's so many megabytes, it'd be hard to go through. Give us the opportunity to answer any of your questions. Glad to help. And if we don't have an answer, we'll try to find it. Okay, let's get started with this. I'll get me out of the way here. And we're going to take a look at a budget overview of the Lehighton Area School District from the perspective of stakeholders and the business person's review, a managerial oversight review. So here we go. We're going to look at leadership, asset management, and then the financial management itself of the district. We got to remember this is a government school, government run. So we're looking at the leadership is the stakeholder, elects a government to provide oversight, write the policy, and adjudicate the policy. And it's the school district board that hires an administration and all the staff. Everyone is hired and fired by the board and implements what their responsibilities are to meet the state requirements and the community requirements of their local public school. Okay, so let's start with leadership. In my opinion, the things that we're missing currently is that we don't have key performance indicators to gauge the district's critical initiatives, objectives, and goals. When we look at this, we look at academic standards which come from PDE and state boards and a variety of different resources that talk about the performance of our students specific to Lehighton and specific to the county, and every district in the state of Pennsylvania has to comply with this requirement. This is a mandated requirement to test these students and see how they're doing. One of the other things we're looking at is the Safe Schools reporting. Now, this is, again, every school district is required to provide these reports. They're available online. We have Lehighton's, we have a Carbon County report, and then there's a whole nother document that's called the Pennsylvania Discipline Laws, the compiled laws of all the state and federal laws for basically anyone in the community to read and understand how the discipline works within the district. We also have school assessments, which would be the PSSAs, and some of the state reporting, financial reporting. You got this annual financial report, AFR. You have bond documents. Anytime that the district was going to borrow money, it had to report what its financial status was. So that information is available. And then you have audit reports. And then we also were able to get the Auditor General's report. We actually lobbied the Auditor General to come in, take a look at our finances because we saw some major discrepancies in the way that things were being done. And they chastised Lehighton for what they were doing. And now this new board is going to be there to correct that. Asset management. If you look at how the principal reports, the business offices works, and the parents work, and they cooperate together, we can better understand how the asset of the districts are being applied. So there's certain assets. There's the buildings themselves. Then you have staff. And then you have parental resources. I mean, there's a lot of people that volunteer a lot of time to this community and help these students when they're needed. And if we can tap that, it works for the student and it works for the district. And then you got this reporting that we purchased from Power School. It's basically a database manager of every student, every teacher, every classroom, the curriculum, the whole 9 yards is found within Power School. And by the board reviewing those documents, they can better manage the district through directing the administration who administers the directions of the board. All right, so it's our advice to set up key performance indicators and direct the administration to monthly compile a report for the board and the community. Now, most of the reports that we see above are required to be filed at least yearly. So if we just got on monthly basis an update, an ongoing report as things occur, it doesn't really change much in the accounting side. Ask the community leaders for free non-biased assistance. Here we're giving advice for free. There's a lot of people in the community that know all sorts of different aspects of these situations for all these students, and they could help. They're there. The whole reason that the board is obligated to seek stakeholder input is because those stakeholders can volunteer for the benefit and efficiency within their school district. Now, the district board does not have to abide by that. However, no harm in listening. But we got to be careful. This is one thing we do want to show up as a review. When we're using previous year's budgets, we should excise that stadium, for instance, as a major expense. And we should also apply cost of living to the district. Now, I gave some other more specific reports to the school district. I can bring one up for you. But when you pull out that stadium, you'll realize that the standard change in district consumption is usually 1% or 2%, cost of living, maybe a little more. However, mismanagement has shown us otherwise. All right, when using student classroom interaction time, we should verify that data through the Power School, but we have some of it, and definitely an opportunity for increasing our leadership by the board through key performance indicators. Okay, you got student safety. This is a report straight from the state. It shows that I just pulled a couple key indicators. Now I'll take myself out of here for a second so we can see the whole thing. So we got Lehighton alone accounted for 95 out of 116 arrests over roughly a 10-year period. 95 out of 116 arrests of students occurred only within Lehighton. This other 21 were all the other schools combined. According to these reports, we had a total victims of 119 in that period. Nobody, I'm going to put myself back on here so I can emphasize this. According to the Lehighton Area School District reporting to the state of Pennsylvania, 0 students had a serious bodily injury. That doesn't make sense from what we see in the paper. Doesn't make sense from what we hear from the parents. Doesn't make sense from the letters we received. Doesn't make sense for the lawsuits that are currently going through the courts. However, not seriously bodily injured, 3 in a 10-year period. And when we look at the tension, let me pull back out of here. It's kind of weird, but it's an outlier, so I pulled it up on the report for the board to review. It shows that in a period of time, we show 0 detentions. All of Carbon County showed 105, therefore we have 0 comparison to all other Carbon counties. But when you look at out-of-school suspension, we had about 27%. Now, there's more than 4 schools within the district, within Carbon County. However, we understand that this needs to be verified with either the administration, and this is where the parent teachers organizations can review these Safe Schools reports in their meetings, hopefully review them, get some feedback, and provide it to a board that's listening for a change. It's awesome to see the board listening. Okay, next one. Key performance indicator. This is the PSSAs. If we take a look at, pop back in here. If we take a look at what happens to a middle school student, blue is the percentage of students that met the proficiency. Red is the number of students that did not meet the basic proficiency, right? We're looking at a proficient standard. If we can meet the proficient standard, we're looking at 100% of our students to meet the proficient standard. This shows the percentage of students that meet it in blue, and the opportunity to improve is in red. Significant opportunities. Also, we as Lehighton Area School District are currently on the advanced targeted support and improvement at the state of Pennsylvania. That means the state of Pennsylvania has given us this grade that we need to improve students with disabilities within our district. Now, if you note, there's a reduction over time. All right, so we're going to look at asset management. There's basically 3 areas of asset management that we want to look at. You have the staff, huge asset. Most companies are made of people. You got the buildings and supplies. We have all new renovated buildings. We don't have any much issues there. And then we have the community support. This is an untapped resource. It is one of the assets of the district. It should be used more efficiently. All right, staff enrollment has maintained. This all came from the district's budget review. We have total 255 staff members. That's basically about 1 person is employed for every 8 students. We should embrace that. That's a beautiful thing taking place. But to add to that, to make it 7.5 or 7. I don't know if that's really a position to where this district needs to go with the current debt load that it has. But it is something to review. It's one of the metrics we should be doing. This math is absolute. You can embrace and verify the data. They're not my numbers. They come from the district. And we can manage improvements if we measure them. Okay, financial management review. The administration has a projection of about $20,000 per student. In 2021, on page 6 of the audit report, it shows that we were about $18,900. It's a huge change when you're given $18,900 worth of educational benefits to each and every student within the district. Each and every year they are within our school. It's huge. $2,500 per student has been allocated to cover the staff health plans. About 13% of our cost in relationship to student costs, healthcare. So the employee plan health insurance for the Lehighton Area School District exceeds $32,000 an employee. It's huge. When you look at the earnings per capita for someone in Carbon County that's just over $30,000, we pay more in benefits to each and every Lehighton staff employee than most people make in the county. That's an outlier. That should be reviewed by the board. So revenue retention is important, as is employee retention. So if we can reduce the burdens on the revenue side, meaning the stakeholders, and leading these stakeholders away from leaving the district. These are stakeholders that don't have kids in the district. They're paying, but they're not consuming. Every one of those that leaves, there's a risk of bringing in more students that cost $20,000 each. Now, normal attrition makes sense, perfectly acceptable, no problem. We don't want to have our government agency take actions that have an unnatural transition of that process, right? And shift some of that. So what we want to do is we want to shift some of these costs, specifically the cost of employee benefits, and give the staff members more salary. If you looked at it from a big picture view, that puts more money in those people's pockets. We already get a rebate from the health and safety plan, or the health plan, I should say. So we're not using it. We're getting a rebate. The staff members aren't using it. We bought over insurance for them. No real reason to waste that money there. We can be much more efficient, and we should trim that and give the staff members more money and save some money, and then actually just share that cost with the stakeholders to keep them paying a bill for services they don't necessarily directly use. Now, everyone benefits from a public education, especially the community, because when you have educated students, they do a better job in the community. They become your neighbors. Okay, so let's look at the government's monetary authority. They have the authority to collect and disperse taxes and disperse these educational benefits. They have the ability to use force. they can take your home. So we want to limit that ability to as least as possible to help as many people in the community as possible. And we want to know what the mandated benefits are, and we want to know what the optional benefits are. Right? There's 5 ways to work this next problem, which is how do you work problems? I just picked 2 of them. All right. The first one is the 5 whys. Why are we paying so much for health benefits? Okay. Well, why are we not giving them more salary? Why does the staff member stay here if they're not being compensated properly on salary but got all these great extra benefits? And what about their family members? And is that really important to them? If we ask why enough, we can get to the root cause of this situation and make better decisions. Another thing that was taught many times ago was this situation SOAR, right? So you have a situation, you review the options, you take action from one of those options, and then you reevaluate whether the path you're on is going to get you to the goal. So when you reevaluate the action you took, you can make corrective actions on the way. You don't have to be perfect this way. You can always revisit that problem-solving skills. If we can adopt and publish the means by which government boards will solve problems, when they act with fidelity by engaging these complainants, people that have an issue with the way that their child or their classroom or the curriculum or whatever it is, we can resolve it very efficiently. Each time it's resolved, we can publish a redacted ruling to the board's library of decisions so that everybody understands the rules they're playing by and how they work. They're all published. The difference is we just need to apply them accurately. It'll greatly reduce the cost to the district and make the system more efficient. Okay, government-run public schools. There's methods to measure and manage, right? So the things I think that would be most beneficial, and from discussing this with other business owners, most make sense that if you have a well-defined, formal written complaint process, with the complaint resolution process, you're going to provide a better service to the industry. And in this case, it's government, right? Establish student performance benchmarks. Collect this data and report it monthly. Anybody that reports what's going on is going to be held more accountable. And you can make smaller changes, evolutionary changes. It's always better. Establish benchmarks for both asset management and the financial management. If you're going to spend money, you should have a return on investment. You should have a benefit provided to a student. You should be able to measure it. Publish the public-friendly reports monthly. Now that we publish the audit reports, we publish the annual financial reports, we should make summaries that makes it easy for anyone that went through high school that knows what a P&L statement or a balance sheet is and can balance their checkbook and see what's going on within the district finances. They're all government finances. They're all open. There's no hiding of the books. We've had that issue and we resolved all that already. So let's move forward. We should streamline the interactions between the students, the parents, and the government. A prime example of that is this is the existing flow chart for the parents to resolve issues and who's in charge of what. And I propose just reorganize it in a way that makes it more user-friendly. So there you go. KISS method. Remove the chaos. Make the government-run schools more efficient. So how do we make this budget work? It's very simple. Reduce the amount of benefits being provided to the staff to a reasonable level, an acceptable level to them. Increase their salary. That gets them more money, that gets them more pension, that gets them everything they're looking for. We already gave them 2 steps. That's huge in a raise. You're already dealing with staff that are putting in roughly so many hours. And when they do that report, and we gave them detailed reports on this, when you look at teachers are only in front of students for 3.5 hours a day, it's one of the reasons we think that those grades are where they are. We need our teachers to do the job of teaching. Right? It's got to be managed to let them do that. But anyway, so that'll help tremendously. And then when you have a surplus, you should give it back to the community so that the stakeholders that are not using those resources because they don't have young children in the school, can stay within the district, pay their fair share, and get advantage of the students we do have in the community to make sure they have the needs they need. That way you can increase your art programs, you can increase your music programs, all of it. All right, this is the short version. Still took almost 20 minutes, but that's what I was given, a 20-minute window, and I gave a little bit longer introduction at the beginning. So hope this all works for everybody. Have yourself a great day, and we will see you at the Finance Committee meeting.